This is my experience with Hasselblad. Specifically, this is the 907X body paired with the CFV100C digital back and the XCD90 f2.5V lens. This is not a hybrid camera. It's not a fast camera. Certainly it isn't for sports. This is a camera that is built for those who want to slow down, think, and then capture using something that really no one else likely has ever seen. Today I'm going to tell you about what it's like to shoot with 100 megapixels of Scandinavian vintage design. Let's get into it. This video isn't sponsored, but Hasselblad did give me this camera to make a few videos with it. They will get to preview this video for accuracy, but all of my thoughts and opinions are my own. They don't tell me what to say. I'm just sharing my experience with this video, and all of the shortcomings will be included. Now, Hasselblad began in 1841, but their first camera wasn't developed until 1941. NASA used their cameras in the 60s. Basically, the company has a very long history. They released the 50 megapixel 50C in 2019, and in 2024, they followed it up with this, the 100 megapixel 100C. And what's different about this is obviously the design, the shape, and everything that's inside as well. The 907X is the slimmest digital medium format camera on Earth. All it is really this piece right here. Now obviously this is not a complete camera, and the sensor, the battery, everything that you need to process it is here. And then obviously you have the lens, but this is technically the camera. The special thing about this design is it allows you to put whatever back you'd like on it. So if you want to adopt your vintage Hasselblad camera backs to this new 907X, you can, and you can use new modern lenses with your vintage film backs. Now I don't have any of those vintage backs though. All I have is this 100 megapixel back, and it's a beautiful thing. It features a large, crisp, responsive touchscreen that tilts upwards 90 degrees. There are 5 physical buttons at the bottom, charging port on one side, and under this flap there is a battery and CF Express card slot. Inside you get a whopping 1 terabyte of storage that's built in, and that's a nice touch. I wish every camera had at least a little bit of internal storage, just in case you forget your SD card or you fill it up and you have no extra. The menu and screen interface is simple, very easy. With most cameras, you have to scroll through 87 tabs and menu items. Here there are 2 screens, one that shows your shot settings and the other showing you 10 menu icons. You could hand this camera to your grandma and I guarantee it will take her less time to figure out than any other modern camera from Canon, Nikon, or Sony. Now, a large part of that is restraint. There is a saying that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, and this camera is the embodiment of that. It doesn't shoot video, it doesn't have AI tracking, it doesn't shoot 120 frames per second. There's a lot of stuff that this camera doesn't do, but it does do a few things. This is a photography camera. It's all about the image quality. This is a 43.8 by 32.9 backside illuminated CMOS sensor with 15 stops of dynamic range. It shoots 16-bit TIFF or 3FR RAW files, and a huge advantage of this is cropping. You can take a wide shot and crop way in, and the resulting image is still unbelievably detailed and pixel dense. The majority of my shots I did in 645, which is the no crop mode, which gives you a lot of flexibility. You can easily extract vertical photos out of this while retaining a ton of detail. After using this camera for 3 months, what I noticed most about the images from it is the tonality. It handles colors in a different way. There is a precise, realistic aspect to all of the images. The colors really are natural, they're deep. The skin tones are rendered better than any camera I've shot previously. The color science really is one of the things that sets this camera apart. If you like taking photos that look gorgeous straight out of the camera with no edits, the Hasselblad delivers that. There is, however, a lot that you have to sacrifice with this camera. First is the ergonomics. As is, it's not a particularly comfortable camera to handle. You really can't hold it easily with one hand. The shutter button is all the way at the bottom on the front here. It weighs a bit. There's no rubbery bits for grip, just shiny chrome finishing that I find myself constantly looking out for to prevent even the faintest scratch. There are accessories and grips that you can buy for this camera to fix this issue, but as is, this camera isn't great for hand holding. Second, and this might explain the ergonomics, is the camera has no stabilization at all. So that means a tripod might help, and when this camera is on a tripod, the ergonomics or lack thereof really isn't an issue. No IBIS on a 100 megapixel camera. Handheld though is tough. Micro movements show up very easily. I think you really need to embrace a tripod with this camera, which again adds to the overall setup. It's not exactly pocketable as is. and the tripod certainly doesn't help. If you want IBIS, you can step into the Hasselblad X2D ecosystem that has it. Third, let's talk about autofocus. The Hasselblad uses contrast detection autofocus, which is the autofocus that was around when I was first getting into cameras. It's reliable, but it is slow. Can't really use this camera for photographing your kids unless they are asleep or frozen in the snow. No bird photography, no sports photography. This is really the type of autofocus that works for portraits, still life, and landscapes. As an example, this camera does burst photos, and while modern cameras are 10, 20, 30 frames per second, this one is at 3.3 frames per second with no refocus in between. The fourth compromise is there is no viewfinder here. You can get an accessory, but natively you have to use the rear screen to compose and adjust your image. This works for a lot of people, but those who like using a viewfinder will likely find themselves splurging on the add-on. Fifth, the lens ecosystem is pretty limited. There are between 17 and 19 total lenses, depending on which ones you count, and it's not like you have Viltrox making cheap options for it either. If you want to move from, let's say, a 90mm like this to a 25mm, you'll have to spend over $4,000 US to get one. And if you want to build a collection of lenses, it's going to be an expensive endeavor. Sixth, the file sizes are insane. A 100 megapixel 16-bit file is massive. RAW files can be over 200 megabytes each, and you can't send a 200 megabyte photo over email. So you really have to slow down, let your computer catch up to the processing it needs to do if you are editing these files, and if you're sending them to your friends, I don't know how you do that. Lastly, as I mentioned before, the CFV100C does not shoot video. Its sole mission in life is photography, so this is not any sort of hybrid camera. Now, after all of this, you might be thinking, Arthur, are you saying that this camera sucks? I'm not, but I'm saying this is not a Ferrari. It's a Lamborghini tractor. It's big, it's elegant, it's built with purpose, it doesn't rush, it discourages stupidity on the streets, it encourages intention. It's a completely different tool than what most of us are used to. This camera really is great for portrait photographers who can direct their subjects and whose subjects can stand still, landscape photographers who want to slow down, maybe studio photographers that have a tethered system and they want to have the best of the best, maybe fine art shooters who value the colors and the rendering. You won't see a wedding photographer with this camera because they normally shoot 7,000 photos during the course of a day. With this camera, you'd be shooting about 70 really good ones. It's the camera equivalent of going off grid for a while. It's really slowed me down a bit. I shot way less with this camera than my normal cameras, but I'd say that the quality of my shots certainly improved, or at least I slowed down and I thought about my compositions way more than I would normally. At the end of the day, this is an extremely niche camera, but a masterpiece. It's a camera that doesn't try to do everything, but it does the right things extremely well, albeit slowly. You don't buy this camera for value. It's sort of like buying a Patek versus a Casio watch. The Casio is probably better at telling the time, it's more durable, it has way more functions, and it costs a tiny fraction of what the Patek does. You're buying the feeling of something that is special, that's rare, unique, well-crafted. You're really paying for an experience. And the last thing that I'll add is that I have been shooting for, 12 years or so, and I've never gotten as many strangers coming up to me asking me about this camera, making comments, posing for pictures jokingly, as I have really with this camera. I think most people look at this and they recognize that it is something special, it's different, and it's not intimidating to them. It brews some sort of curiosity enough to make them speak up about it. So if you don't have many friends, buy or rent one of these cameras. I guarantee you someone will start talking to you about it if you are out and about. Overall, this has been a good experience. It's almost therapeutic in a sense, and that aspect I really do like. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.